Hey, well, it's been a while, hasn't it? We haven't talked in a while about the R3 model. And if I seem like I'm out of it, I am. I'm exhausted. Last 36 hours has been a blur, and I might not even remember doing this video. But sometimes when I'm tired, I actually am better at explaining things because it slows me down a bit. I'm exhausted. I've been working, well, the last 36 hours has just been a blur a lot. But what I want to do is, I want to focus on, one of you asked a question, Solarsubstance, you asked a question on the first video, the R3 model, the first story, dialogue, introduction. And this, if all things go right, this will be the 30th video to go public on the R3 Shreveport, and the 11th in the R3 model series. Now this will be a number 11, referring back to number 1. So if you haven't seen number 1 in the R3 series, you might want to see it. This was the question. And there was 3 other responses, but I'm going to focus only on questions and then go from there. Interesting start. I want to learn more. You spoke about R3, quote R3, standing for, quote, your role in life cubed, end quote. In saying that, are you referring to personal, business, and community as being the R3 roles? Now, the R3 roles, and what does R3 stand for? This is a very interesting question, and it's even more interesting how it's worded. So let me explain. If I were, which I'm not, but I always wish I could have been a professor in college or university somewhere, but anyway, maybe someday. I would be teaching the R3 model, though, and I don't think there's a market for that yet. But I can just imagine in class when people ask a question, the person asking the question can be right in a way, but the way you know that the student is asking the question is not right, because you know what they're really intending to ask. I guess that's where we're at now. So in a way, the answer to that question is saying that you are referring to personal, business, and community as being the R3 roles. No, that's no. But R3 standing for your, what is R3 standing for your life in cubes? And I'm sorry, I'm exhausted, so bear with me on this. But what I'm going to do is I did take some notes the other day when I tried to attempt to do this yesterday, but I didn't get through. And I'm going to read through some notes, and then I'm going to go through them in detail. And hopefully by drawing some of these components out, you'll understand a little more clearer picture. And if you ever get like a point of epiphany, or whatever that word is, like all of a sudden, wow, so the lights go on something, please let me know, because this isn't only Solarsubstance that asked the question. I'm sure other people that are not asking questions might have similar questions. So the first thing is I'm going to go over the R3, what does it mean? R3, not R3 next to it, but R exponent 3. And then roll, and the reason we do that is it's hard to write exponents in URLs, right? So it always ends up R3, which really it's R to the exponent. So, and understand that the R3 is actually the start of your behavioral equation. And I know behavioral equations are like, whoa. Well, in the future, you'll be able to run off equations off, and the system will do it, equations off everything you're doing. It'll sense, if you bring in this behavior, it'll figure out how long that behavior is and what has to be taken out in order for that to fit in. It'll be very advanced, but it'll be all in the background. But remember that we're always talking about the cube. So your role is this, and cubed is basically talking about the 3 dimensions. But so let me explain it this way too. It talks about productivity. I'm going to jump around actually. I'm going to change my mind. Productivity units. Let's say a person were able to produce 3 units in a day. And we're all measured. And let's say a tree is able to produce 3 apples in a season. Whatever your measurement, whether you're a business, whether you're a community, whether you're an individual or some kind of project, we're all producing. We're producing creatures. We want to behave in such a way where we produce something. It doesn't matter if you're married and your wife asks you to mow the lawn. It matters how much lawn you get mowed and how often you do it. Those are production units, okay? Those are just an example. So when you say, so what the R3 claims to do, the R3 model is such a system that it's actually claiming to allow you to produce exponentially in cube. Let's say you're able to produce 3 units in a day. We say that you can produce 27, 3 times 3 times 3 in a day. And how do we do that, you say? Well, that takes a lot more videos. And that's the whole point of this, is because we implement things like rev coupling and all these type of technologies. But part of it, though, is harnessing technologies. You know, for instance, I'm not just talking to one person right now, I'm talking to many people. This allows me, it cuts down, and I could send emails to each one of you, but that would lower my ability to produce. So I'm always trying to reinvent how much I'm able to produce. I better move along because we're already 5 minutes into this. So another thing is, so behavioral equation, and that's something we'll talk about at some other time. Primary roles, the R3. Primary roles is not really, you could be right in saying about personal, business, and community, but I'm going to go over this. There are four types. There are four types of R3s as we see them now. There's individual R3s, there's project R3s, there's business R3s, and community R3s. Now these, understand that we have not been able to, up to this point, create this. The reason for these videos is we're in a stall mode right now. And I'm able to do something because we're waiting for SharePoint to become live soon so we can produce. And we're trying to find an environment so we can build this. It's kind of like trying to get land in order to build a building and trying to get the resources together. We don't need many resources, but we do need this platform. Without this platform, we can't build the R3. A long time ago, I used to think, well, I could build it in Access or some relationship database. Sorry, whoa, I'm real tired here. Bear with me. If I fall asleep and this goes on for a couple hours, well, sorry. I'm really tired, so I'm going to try to get through this as best as I can. I hope, and I just hope, well, at least I'll have the video to remember what I told you. The four different types are very important. But now watch this. This is really interesting. And I'm going to come back to primary roles. Well, actually, I'll stick it in here right now and go back to it. Primary roles are really, if you were to boil down primary roles, it would be actually operations, development, and service. And then what does that mean? And I know I'm putting a lot out here which will actually produce more questions. But remember when we were saying the X, Y, and Z? Well, it goes well beyond the communication cube. The communication cube just gives us a framework to know that our model is complete. So in system engineering or in new systems, as we develop the R3, we look to the communication cube to know that we're engineered right. For instance, the communication cube states that there's an X, Y, and Z. So therefore, there's an up and down, there's a left to right, and there's a front to back. Okay? Now, these correlate with what's X corresponds with operations, Y corresponds with development, and Z corresponds with service. And we correspond these actually with red, blue, and green. So you actually have operations as blue, development is red, and green is that. Now remember, in the communication cube, I know I'm going over a lot, but you can watch these videos again and again. Remember, the X, Y, and Z also correspond with subject, matter, verb. So operations, operations, the subject is doing the operations. I won't go over that because that'll just confuse you, and I'm not ready to do that. But anyway, so let me explain this here. Ability to produce. Okay, so let's just go over real quick. So the primary roles are actually operations, development, and service, and those are the active roles. Now, what does this mean kind of practically? Well, in every behavior, you'll hear in what's called blocking a behavior. In every behavior we do it as an R3. I'm tree breeze. I am tree breeze. My primary role is tree breeze strengthens personalities. You'll hear me say that a lot. My job right now, I'm strengthening personalities. But what is this behavior? This is a service behavior. This is a service behavior. A development behavior, basically I'm adding values. That's green. I'm adding value. That's a service behavior. But then a development behavior is when I develop a better, like if I were to develop this process or this behavior and doing this process or improve upon it, that would be development. Operations is actually like going through uploading videos and doing that. It's not adding value to anything, but it's maintaining, it's maintenance. with any kind of behavior, it's really important you understand this. With any kind of behavior, there's these type of we approach something. The model forces us to approach something that we have to develop it. We have to build the house. We have to maintain the house, and we have to use what the house is there for, which is maybe entertain guests and live and whatever. So what it does is it gives us different angles to approach in a systematic way your role in life. So your primary roles: operation, service, and development. And so you have to divide up your time appropriately in order to get all these things done. And the R3, we're really running on time here, but and this is so exciting when this comes about, because most people never think about, is there a better way to sweep the floor? An R3 always is re-engineering how they're sweeping the floor, how they're shopping. A good example is, if you go to Walmart, I'm sorry, I don't want to get against CVS and all these other people, but if you go to Walmart, change your prescriptions to Walmart, and then you'll be able to shop and do that. That would be a development process that you sit down and think about your behavior. You re-engineer your behavior. You say you're going to shop while you get your prescriptions. That saves time. All of a sudden, you're producing more units in a day. Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, don't bother me because I'll be sleeping soon. But no, I'm just joking. I love your questions. They actually stir me. These questions are harder to answer, though, than me randomly speaking, so it takes me a little longer. Now, this is where the question is right, in a way, or where we're going to branch off into a phenomenon here that we don't see clearly until the model's more built. But we are finally seeing inklings into certain other phenomena when you align these. It's kind of like you didn't realize that the model was so accurate until these things are aligned. One of those things is this. We realize that there's individuals, projects, and business and communities. Those are the 4 types of community, or types of R3. But what's interesting about that? Where's this 4 number come from? Well, we believe it's possibly in alignment to the 4 divisions of the cube. There's the center cube, there's the center of the cube, there's the sides, 6 sides, there's 12 edges, and there are 8 corners. Now, we believe that the model will then show us that individual R3s line up with, like, let's say, the center, projects possibly line up with the sides, business line up with the corners, and community kind of systems line up with the edges. Now, that is very advanced stuff. That is more than you're asking. That's why I said you're right in the question, but you really don't know what you're asking. So I know what you're asking. You're asking what R3 stands for. It's really how many units a role. If you're an R, and that R is representative 3, and then you times it by 3, then you get 27, which are really the 27 systems that make up your life. But that's basically R to the 3rd power is the beginning of your equation, your mathematical equation. I know it sounds complex, but it's just your role in life cube. And I'm slurring my speech because I'm so tired. I'm sorry. I have not been drinking. I have been trying to get so much done. Trying to produce, trying to get those 27 units in a day without my R3 being R3 system being in place yet. Now, real quick, you'll also see, I'll start talking to you about how the center corresponds with axis reference, sides, surfaces. There's other ways you can call these things. Corners, points, edges, lines, and everything. Now, putting that aside, I'm sure I've made you a lot more questions, but try to listen to this video and try to correspond it with the first video. This is the first video, and now this is the 11th video. Not the 11th hour, don't worry, but the 11th video. Let me go back the other day, about yesterday, I think. I don't remember. But anyway, I had an epiphany, or whatever you call those things. I realized that when I was young, between 7 and 14, and my family would be interested if they ever listen to these R3 videos, to 7 and 14, I was obsessed with what people used to call a perpetual motion machine, which basically is probably the reason they medicated me when I was young. A perpetual motion is impossible according to first and second law and the second law of thermodynamics. And if you know about thermodynamics, wow, I don't have the time to go over this. Ask me on telling my stories, because there's no time for this story, how perpetual motion machines actually translated into my obsession and this work with building an R3, which actually is perpetual improvement processing and allows human beings to function at a much higher level, because we are, in fact, machines, whether we like it or not. But we built ourselves on technology. That's all I have. Thank you so much.